so here we go, the Q&A from you. And these all came from my Instagram. So if you haven't followed me on Instagram already, we'll put it in the description, @VinGigs. If you're coming here from Instagram and watching this, thank you so much for the support. And I'm shouting you out because one of these questions is probably yours. So first question, how do I get a Lamborghini? By the way, the dude that sent me this has like 4 Lamborghinis, so perfect, thanks Justin. What started your love for classic cars as a child, and do you feel your collection is a driving force in your success as an entrepreneur? Thanks Dan, that's @bluecollar_Dan on Instagram. My love for classic cars, covered in the last video, that was my dad and I. We had a real love for cars together. And actually, one thing I didn't mention was I was at a car show one time and someone had an old Ferrari. And as a kid, he let me sit in it, and boom, that's really what sparked, I think, the real love for all this. And so that's why, if you notice, if I go to car shows, I always let people sit in my cars, especially the Ford GT. So, and then, do you feel your collection is a driving force for your success as an entrepreneur? Go watch the other video we released before this one. It will blow your mind. That's basically what I talked about for, like, 75% of it.
Yep.
How did you get started? How do you stay focused on growing? And how do you maintain the things in the right order? This comes from Ramiro, and he says, when raising a family, running a business, and trying to put every other cent towards appreciating assets like real estate, but you love cars, what would you say to the young fathers who want to maintain the priorities correct while giving yourself a chance to enjoy the hobby of beautiful cars? Ramiro, this is probably one of the questions that touched my heart so closely. Now, I started this journey of building my business and stuff before I had kids. The kids came along during, so I was already starting to see some success before they came into the picture. Speaking to kind of starting your journey while you have kids, I can't even imagine how much more challenging it would be for you than it was for me. Number one, if you're in that circumstance, I would say you're gonna have to figure out how to grow your business bigger. I mean, that's really what it's gonna take, because having a family is expensive. It takes a lot of time. You're gonna have to figure out in your own life what that means to prioritize certain things and be able to still grow your business. I think before you start getting into this, the business should be number one, and you should grow that until maybe you can afford something, maybe not of the caliber, I don't know. Am I kind of hitting that question right, Miller?
Yeah.
Okay. Having kids now, and look, I have a nonprofit, I have a farm, right? I have my house, I take care of my house. I do all my own mowing. We do all our own taking care of all the animals that we've rescued. I think we're up to 14 animals. I run the tractor, I bush hog, I run my business. We're constantly buying more properties, my business partner and I, dealing with our investors. It's a lot. I wash all my cars myself. I'm now to the point where I'm starting to delegate more of this out to third parties. Like, for example, I had to build some fence, and I actually hired someone to do that recently. That's big for me. So I think depending on where you're at, it's honestly less sleep, less time on the weekends to do things. You just have to handle your priorities. But what I've learned, and now maybe this is maturing, my time with my family and my kids is the most important thing. All this can go away. This really isn't the priority. I do fit in once a week to go to a car show or go on a drive with my buddies, or I drive these to work, but really my family is number one. So if you're stressed out about trying to get to this and you just don't see that, I would say focus on the time with the kids first and do this later in life. I don't know, is that a good answer?
Great answer.
What do you do for a living? I covered that in the last video. I'm now a real estate developer. I build large multifamily mixed-use projects and create really nice, I don't do anything half-assed. We create really nice places for people to live. Places I want to live, work, and play. And I hate tearing down trees, so I do urban infill projects. I love trees. When do you know you could first afford a $500,000 car? Did you buy it outright? Did you put it under a business? Kind of answered this in your comment. There's definitely different thresholds of car buying and ownership, right? These Beck Speedsters are probably about $50,000. This is much more achievable for most people. When you start getting into that, like you can budget to afford this, right? That's kind of what I'm getting at. When you get into that level, you kind of know, you can either afford it or you can't, I guess, because even if you go to get a loan on that, the monthly payment in itself and the down payment they require is like buying a house, right? And by the way, I'm not approaching this from an area of an arrogance or trying to be like, look at me, like that's not what I'm telling you the reality. The reality is you know, right? You know if you can afford that car. Favorite color, also resto mod or original. Man, my favorite color on a car was always black with white stripes. I love, on a classic car, the tuxedo. I had a 69 Camaro that was black, it was tuxedo, just like that. And that car was all classics. It's a perfect question. And I'm not gonna tell a story now, I'll tell it later. But I prefer resto mods. And I used to be a die-hard, keep the car classic or die guy. But now I like resto mods. I like, maybe because my life's so busy, I like getting in a car that I know is gonna fire up and that I can just tear on when I leave. Gone are the days of me spending the time troubleshooting my car. This is a great one, and we're gonna, by the way, that was MZ3 Coupe. He's been following me forever. Thank you, you're awesome, dude. I really appreciate you. Wood_store collection on Instagram. Do you like driving the new Ford GT or the GT40 back? We're gonna do a full video on this because I get this question constantly. And let me just tell you, they're very different cars. About the only thing that's the same is your seating position and how close you feel to the road. Other than that, it's do I want to go drive somewhere and be comfortable and rip on it and still have fun, or do I want to drive a race car? I mean, that's the easiest high level way to say it. And Miller's experienced both. So.
The best way to put it.
AA Bales, B-A-Y-L-E-S, is the Porsche Kit car as well. Now, just to clarify something, that's not a kit, the Cobra's not a kit. They're factory built continuation cars. This, I think you would maybe distinguish more as a kit, but Beck is a unique builder because they also factory build these cars, but these are not licensed by Porsche. Like these are licensed by Shelby to be made. So I don't know, kit?
Kinda, yeah, half kit.
But again, you can drive and experience this car, your wife can, for 50 grand instead of, what would one in this condition go for? 400 or 500?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'd rather have this. And you don't have to worry about it breaking down.
Yep.
What's your most and least favorite thing about each car? I think you kind of hit that. C_Wayne, he's been following me for a long time. I like pretty much everything.
Yeah. Yep.
There are some little quirks to each car, but I'll cover those. I promise you I'll cover those in a separate video on each. Overall goals for the collection: eventually sell, never sell, pass on to new caretaker. So it's funny because when I call myself an owner, I almost say that like I'm the caretaker until I go, right? That's how I feel about cars. Overall goals for the collection, that's a great question. It's something I think about literally constantly. Like, I'm like, do I keep this or do I sell it and put that money to work in real estate? Do I keep this? Same thing. Now, these three cars, probably never going anywhere. Now, if someone gave me a big enough number, maybe those conversations have been had, but I'm so attached to that car because of Crown Rally, I really don't see that going anywhere. So I feel like you'll always see these three cars. This one is my family's legacy car. Even if that hits $1 million, like they're saying they might, I don't think I'll sell it. I enjoy it too much. Yeah. I want to be on my deathbed saying about how I enjoyed every mile of the 100,000 miles I put on that car, right? So.
Love that.
How does your car portfolio returns compare to your real estate returns? It doesn't. And that's why we did the previous video, because again, not financial advice. Can you sell and flip cars and make a lot of money? Hell yes. There's a lot of people who do that. That's not my purpose. Go watch the other video, go see that. If I was a young investor and didn't have money to put into something and have fun with, I would not be buying these cars, right? I would be buying more and more real estate, and we're doing that anyway. Certain cars can have a return similar, but other cars do not, right? That one might. If you buy the right cars. Will a Superformance Grand Sport be joining the fleet? It's.your.boy.walk on Instagram. I actually owned a Superformance Grand Sport, and I actually owned, there's a picture of it over there, it was drawn, the one that was featured on Jay Leno's Garage. It was the blue one. So if you go YouTube and search Jay Leno's Garage Corvette Grand Sport, that's my car. I sold that, when did I sell that? Last year, and I traded it actually for the Daytona Coupe that's coming. So stay tuned for that. First drive in the GT was everything you hoped it would be. Yes, thank God, because I would have been so sad if my lifelong dream car would have been a disappointment. So yes, yes. Does your state have collection plates, or do you know about them? I don't know what a collection plate is. I'm assuming you mean an antique tag, which yes, we have those. And Like for example, an antique car like this in North Carolina is $40 a year to register. Now I have property in South Carolina too, and some of these cars, this car, go back and forth and get housed down there part of the year and up here. So South Carolina, it's $500 for the life of the car if it's an antique. And yes, these are titled and registered as antiques. What's your favorite thing about the Ford GT? We got a video. Go back, we did a whole review on the Ford GT. Go watch it. It's awesome.
In-depth review.
Would you ever get a tuner? That's a great question. Leak the artist? Probably not. And it's not because I don't like them. I think they're incredible. I think they're amazing. It's just not my cup of tea, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
One day for content.
Maybe one day for content. Maybe
we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
What's been your favorite part about collecting cars, and now if you finance this passion? Go watch the previous video, because it's been 20 years of blood, sweat, and tears in building a business and an empire, right, to get to this point. So that's how I did it. And I buy all my cars cash. I don't finance anything. I don't like consumer debt. I just feel like it's a waste. So I'd rather have the money sitting in the car, my personal thing. It's probably dumb. It's probably a dumb move, to be honest, but I don't care. My other money is working. So he wrote something originally, something have you have been hiding. He wants to know about the secret car that I can't tell you about yet, and I'm gonna keep it that way. and you'll find out later. I promise you'll find out later. It'll make sense.
It's big.
It's big. So just
I'm
wait.
excited.
What's one car you regret selling? We talked about this earlier.
Yep.
My R8 V10, my R8 V10 supercharged car was my favorite. It was, if you look back at my Instagram, it was wrapped in like an urban camo. Phenomenal car. I do regret selling that car, but we have good stuff in the place. Why only American muscle and why not German or European? I'm so glad you asked that. I happen to just be a die-hard American classic car guy. I've done Lamborghini, I've owned a couple of them, I've owned a couple of R8s, I've owned a couple of BMWs. I've owned, recently I had a Porsche 993 in 1996. And the problem is that stupid car right there ruined me for life. That and the GT40 just in general. I had one before, it was called F85. And 3 days after buying it and owning it, I took it straight to Tail of Dragon. If you know Tail of Dragon, it's one of the most best known roads in all of the United States, right? And it ruined me for life. I literally could not get back into a modern European German car after that. I recently bought an R8 V10 Performance back in December. I sold it 2 months later because it was boring. I hate to say it. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're incredible cars, but it felt like a fast daily driver. My Huracan Performante was definitely a different ballgame. I would have kept that car because that is one car that's foreign that I really enjoyed driving, but I didn't enjoy the ownership experience and the attention that car got. And it was purple. So, which car smells the best inside? That's hilarious.
Probably the GT.
What?
I said probably the GT.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It has that like iconic like early 2000s smell still.
Yep.
Why are second gen Camaros underrated? How to long run for parts availability 1970, 1981? I don't know. And so it's always baffled me. This is 67, 68, 69, and 69 especially has always been the go-to, right? Everybody knows the 69 Camaro. These, for some reason, never took off. And I think they've gained more popularity. And I think what's happened, I think, and Miller, you tell me if I'm onto something here. You have generations that go through that have childhood dream cars, right? And I think this is going through and still in a cycle of, like I said, my neighbor had one in high school and I fell in love with it, right? I think these are coming around.
Yeah.
And look, 69's been done a million times, 67. The round headlights, the round taillights, and just I think this is one of the most gorgeous bodies on any car. It's super unique, but I think it's coming. And that's actually why I bought one, was that I just feel like it's moving in that direction. Again, if I lose money on it, I lose money on it, but I don't know, I think it's a good bet.
The big nose is so iconic. Yeah.
So iconic, but the round taillights in the back is just my favorite. I don't know if we can see them from down here. Yeah, you can. There's something so unique about it. So Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I could be wrong, could be crazy. Thanks for your questions, appreciate you. We will see you next week. We have some other cool things planned. Miller got the idea of doing some cinematic stuff with the cars and some transitions, so we're gonna have some really cool content coming to you in the future. I appreciate you being on this journey as we grow. I appreciate you bearing with me as I learn to talk less and continue to give you more good information. But yeah, seriously, we're having so much fun. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.